So for the sake of the strategists, I'm now going to get more into the weeds about the mechanics of how these stats work. For everyone else, I will be explaining this to you during each payday when we do this adding up. So you won't actually need to remember any of this. Plus, there's a little handy reminder down here as well of what I'm about to say. So first of all, pain. Not only does pain subtract from your quality of life in the chapter that you're in, but if you end up with 5 or more unrepressed pain, you're actually going to end up with a trauma. And as you know, if you get a trauma, that is going to carry down for each subsequent chapter unless you get rid of it. So you want to try and keep your pain as low as you can. By the way, I use this symbol throughout to mean equal to or more than or equal to or less than. It's not quite the correct mathematical symbol, but I couldn't be bothered to use the right one. So here we are. Now, likewise, trauma. Not only does this add up over each chapter and keep on accumulating, but if you end up with 5 or more unrepressed trauma, you're actually going to end up with a mental illness. So you're going to draw one of these mental illnesses randomly, and these things are going to end up in your status box over there. So they're going to be permanent effects that really hamper your ability to play this game. And so you really want to keep your trauma as low as possible. For example, you might end up with ADHD, which means that every single chapter you're going to have to change your career path. Bit of a nightmare. Or you might end up with opiate use disorder, which means that you have to gain narcotics or opioids during your chapter, or you're going to end up with a trauma. So don't get mental illnesses, guys. That's just a very noob thing to do. Meaning and pleasure, no special effects there, except meaning does get carried down, as I said. Now, food and lodging I mentioned, these are really crucial to get, because if you don't get those, you are going to suffer a lot. If you don't have enough food to feed your entire family, as I mentioned, you have to feed your entire family. So and that is represented by your food needs number over here. You're going to start with a food need of 1. You're just feeding yourself. But if you don't acquire your single food at some point over the chapter, you're going to end up with an extra trauma. And likewise, lodging, you start the game with a lodging need of just 1. But if you end up with a bigger family, then your lodging need is going to increase. The good news, of course, is that you share your food and your lodging needs with your spouse at that point, so it's not quite as hard as it sounds. If you don't get your lodging, though, you're going to end up becoming a vagrant, and this is very bad news indeed. Not only does becoming a vagrant cause you to lose your job, it also causes you to basically get into a horrifying death spiral of increasing trauma with very little chance of escape.